All right. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Welcome once again to the Midday in the Middle Jam. This is Art4Truth. We are Art4Truth. We're going to have a little fun playing some guitar. Maybe doing a little bit of improv vocals. We'll see. Wait, that's not. Oh. That's more like it. How can art be anything less than the meaning of our reality? The way we connect intrinsically to beauty, composition, and harmony, almost like it was there for us to see, but not invented by you and me. The great, great, great sea of infinity illustrates, no pun intended, very clearly patterns, movement, compositional harmony, even through what might seem like chaos and catastrophe. Everywhere in there, intrinsically a connection of beauty, a relationship beyond the sum of its parts. Consciousness is the awakening, the opening, the understanding. That art, that intrinsic, that deep, deep connection to the force of creation is far beyond us and our limitations. Art is a very powerful tool of expression in relation to the world around us. To connect with individual ideas and larger, greater social hypotheses or realities. A way to express feelings, emotions, connect those emotions to things that might otherwise seem free from such things. But art, well, we use art and incorporate it into our lives for any number of reasons, and we can appreciate each other's individual expressions. Let us not forget its deep, deep, deep power. Like science, it does change, it does evolve. There are hardly constants except for the bare bones constants of energy. Some of the greater realities of harmony, but ultimately, like science, it is something that we can view and digest objectively, to see a truth, to see a reality beyond our own personal expression, beyond our taste, beyond our subjective ideas. Art is unlike science. Well, this might not exactly be true, but science tends to be pretty more objectively objective, shall we say. It is characterized by not having emotion about it, by looking at evidence, by looking at the way things work, by pure observation. Art has similar rules insofar as how relationships are made. When you put a red next to a green in a certain way, there's a certain vibration that happens between them. And that's indelible. It can change for the moment, depending on the light, the movement, the space. But the fact that there are reactions, that there's something happening because of those things and not our feelings about it, are very real. Yet, unlike science, the power of art comes from that personal connection, that being able to relate and have that subjectivity. But make no mistake about it, it is not purely subjective. It can't be. Nor can it really be purely objective. It's an incredible thing, like reality, connected to the individual and the collective, conscious of everything. One case in point, I know very, very few people who have ever attempted art in any way, shape, or form who are constantly happy with what they do, who believe every single thing that they paint, draw, or create is perfect in its own way. Every single artist I've ever met, known, or heard of and it's a fair pool to build data from, will have work that does not suit them, that doesn't feel right to them, that they don't like, that doesn't work. Those are very real energies. It's a real observation. There's a reason for those things that do not have to do with taste, choice. Well, not new. Let me put it this way. If you're doing some work and you feel like it's just something's wrong, the arm doesn't feel right, or the shadow is, there's something about it that you don't get into. You don't like this better than that, for example, then that's not just a matter of how you feel. That's a matter of the way the physical elements, the physical variables of the media and the space are reacting, and your connection to that. Now that's where the subjective part comes in. You can have a piece of work that you don't like, that you feel doesn't work, that doesn't capture what you wanted, where the physical elements are not doing, they're behaving a certain way that is not connected to how you are as the artist. Yet that same work might be enjoyed very much by others. That's where the subjective comes in, but it does not change the fact that there is something there that was off to a subjectivity, that the physical elements of the painting were not speaking in a very certain way. Art can move people and affect them even if you don't like it, even if you don't get it. The physical elements of the piece, the relationships, will react with you and affect you. I remember despising abstract art, despising it, despising Jackson Pollock, Piet Mondrian, even Kandinsky. Now, of course, I'm an accomplished abstract painter and an absolute proponent of abstraction and to be incorporated into our everyday lives, to our sense of consciousness, to our governments, to our political systems, to our food-making process, everything. Abstraction is a very important, very, very, very important element of our existence as beings and our connection to consciousness. See, I changed, my mind changed, my mood changed, my views changed, but the work didn't change. The physical elements of the Jackson Pollock remained exactly the same, and it moved me, even when I hated it. Because it moved me to hate it, to care, to question. And make no mistake, throughout history, some of the work that we've come to respect and expect as art was often reviled, misunderstood, and, quite frankly, was revolutionary. Da Vinci was a revolutionary. Rembrandt was a revolutionary. Claude Monet, with his happy flowers and water lilies, was a revolutionary. Absolute revolutionary. Or, I'd like to rather, actually, I prefer revolutionary. I prefer the term evolutionary. They were evolutionists. Evolution is, in a way, revolution. But revolution goes backwards, right? Revolution is a circle. Evolution is a spiral that changes. And they weren't that because of some art critic. There seems to be, and I need to do a little bit more research into this for my own edification and for my own work, but there seems to be a school of thought that demeans the power of abstraction based on certain political affiliations, socio-political affiliations of the critics that wrote about it, and that quite frankly, bullshit, because the work itself does not need a critic. It does not need Clem Greenberg to be stroking Pollock. Okay, I don't want to get too crass, but okay. It does not require somebody with a particular socio-political viewpoint to dictate what it means to us. And when we put too much power in those aspects of art, we miss the fact that the work itself is what is important. The physical relationships, I've said that a lot, the reality of the piece. Take away all the writing. Put Jackson Pollock's work in a bubble. Let humans look at it a million years from now. Who knows what we'll be like then? Humans will have evolved, hopefully. You take away all the writing, all the Clem Greenberg work, all of the art history, all of the politics, all of the crap. Take all of that away. Take away his name. Take away his life. All you have is this painting that was obviously rendered by somebody. But we know nothing else than that. The piece will still have power to us because of what it is. Maybe we'll have evolved beyond a lot of what that power really means to us consciously, but it will not take the power away. We've evolved beyond beyond a lot of the prehistoric art, but we have not evolved beyond the power of it. Now more than ever, I think it's important to realize that connection, that solid objective power of art, so that we can better incorporate our own personal subjective selves, if you will, our viewpoints, our own consciousness as an individual into the larger consciousness of a whole. I mean, we don't deny the objectivity of energy, of gravity, of light, but we challenge it, we question it, we look for new ways to explore and understand it. A lot of the particulars, I believe, this is out of my area, but a lot of the particulars of Newtonian physics, for example, have been challenged, although I think some do remain. I think we still believe in the energy not being able to be created, destroyed, the laws of conservation and so on. We still take a lot of Einsteinian ideas as absolute, although we are also evolving beyond a lot of their ideas. But we have, in our place, in our presence, plural, been able to grow together with our understanding as a species because of a perceived and/or actual objectivity, a truth to those things. And art is very similar. If we view it only as subjective, we miss the power of it. If we view it only as objective, then we become disconnected for it as individuals. Then we can't appreciate the little children's drawing on the refrigerator, or we can't appreciate each person's own attempts at drawing or whatnot. However often they've been repeated, however much they look like other artworks, whatever levels of skill, talent, ability, all that stuff, they all have a value subjectively, and we need to be able to cherish that. But we cannot fully appreciate that, and we cannot fully appreciate art if we do not understand the objective value either. Some experiments are more successful than others. It doesn't mean that Some have a stronger gravity, a greater pull on us than others. It doesn't mean that the other experiments are invalid. It just means they have different gravities and different meanings. But without looking at the real inventive, explorational, rabbit hole, figure something deep out about that connects us as humanity aspect of art, we only view it as expression, we only view it as decoration, we truly miss the point. I truly, truly, truly believe we need to look at art both ways, and that the only way that we're going to evolve as people is if we have a greater respect for what art can do as a power, as an energy, as a force of our conscious reality, and incorporate it fully into our systems, our way of life, our way of thinking. Always remember that the imagination is the important thing. It's not about talent or skill or being able to render things in an exact certain way. It's about the imagination to move beyond all those things and still create something sublime. My personal talent, if I do have any, many say that I do, comes from the imagination, not the other way around. A perseverance to understand, to connect to that creative energy of life. And the more I do, the more I work, the more quote-unquote talent develops, the more skill quote-unquote develops. And that's a good thing. It is not the absolute. The imagination is the important thing. But eventually, the skill happens. I think it was Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. Really cool band. Really important band for our own epoch. Anyways. He said something to the effect of, and I'm going to mangle the quote, but I'm just going to get the basic idea of what he said. So like when punk rock, for example, punk rock, no wave, and some of those, post-punk, all these things, they were happening. A lot of it was the rawness, right? You pick up an instrument because you want to express yourself, you want to get out there, whatever. And you start mangling around on it. Well, eventually, the more you play that instrument vicariously, the more you're going to get good at it. The rawness will dissipate, that accident in a way, unless you continue to work to harness and find that through your developing talent. But basically, what he said was, the more you play, the more inevitably you'll get better at what you're doing. The more you'll understand it, the more you'll have skills, coordination, so on and so forth. The important thing is, I believe, is to not let that lead to complacency. We should always be challenged. I love looking at Rembrandt's work as an example because you can see where he developed. I think his most powerful works were the ones he did near the end of his life. As an old man, those incredibly evocative self-portraits where you can just see the soul in the man's eyes. If you look at some of the work that he did when he was younger, his self-portraits, they have more visible talent, more attention to these beautiful, magnificent strokes and painterly ways. But the later stuff connects more deeply with the soul, the imagination, the essence of the consciousness, while having brush strokes and almost a sloppy approach. less colors. We must always challenge ourselves and move beyond the comfortable in art. As I sit here playing pretty much the same similar riff that I play all the time. But in some way, shape, or form, we do need to grow, learn, move beyond our norm. Here's a little case in point. I know I'm getting close to the end here of this particular half-hour version of Midday in the Middle. I went years playing guitar when I played guitar without using my pinky. And of course, not using your pinky can be a real detriment to some of the things you can do. Or let me put it this way. Using your pinky can add a whole other level of what you can do to guitar playing. And so even now, I will practice more with it. I won't always, but I try to use it a lot more. I don't just be like, oh, well, I never use it, it's really hard, it doesn't sound as good because I'm not as good with it. No, I try to get better, and it works. You can always work to improve and grow. And art needs to, the universe needs to, life needs to. It's why we're so connected to why art is such an important aspect of our existences in a created universe. And on that note, to all the folks out there, ladies, gentlemen, and the otherwise affiliated, I bid you a wonderful day, beautiful weekend. I'll plan on being back tomorrow, somewhere either 11:30 or 11:45 to do a jam, unless something happens, but that's the plan. And as always, keep making art, keep it in your heart, and thank each and every single one of you for your ear and your time.